Marlboro County School District Board meeting, Monday, December 7th, 2015, is called to order. There's been notification of the news media. The Marlboro Herald is here. And Mr. Woods, would you please have an invocation for us?
Shall we pray? Dear God, as we come tonight, we ask you now to govern us and to allow your spirit to govern us and to keep us. We ask you to continue to bless the Marlboro County School District. We ask you to continue to bless each board member along with our superintendent and administrative staff and all of the staff. And we ask you to continue to bless all of the schools of Marlboro County. And God, we ask you now to allow your spirit to guide us tonight as we come to discuss Marlboro County school business. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. And under the approval of the agenda, we need to change one thing. The winners of the Christmas card contest were not put on the agenda. And so with that change in mind, would someone please make a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move that we include in our agenda recognition of the Christmas card winners.
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion's carried unanimously. Next, we have approval of minutes for November 2nd regular meeting and November 23rd special meeting. Would you all like to break them apart or do them together?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the minutes from November 2nd regular meeting and the November 23rd special meeting.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. There are no individuals or groups who wish to appear before the board. Individual items for January board meeting. Number one, Mr. Goff, the field trip requirements and the current school procedure. Mr. Goff.
This was not a discussion item. The request for this and actually for the other one were that we amend our policy to ease the requirements for approval of field trips and also make sure that we're in guidelines with the state requirements for volunteers for school-related activities, because as it stands, we're having an issue with qualified volunteers because they're being disqualified for non-criminal activity that's showing back up on the report. So there was an email that was sent to staff, so whether or not they're prepared with that information or whether or not I need to, to make a request that we actually amend policy or what have you.
I think what you would do is make a motion that we intend to start that process in the next month. You have to make a notice a month ahead, and then it's 2 readings. Right. So you could make a motion to that effect.
You're talking about a change of policy.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's why I sent the emails, and I was very specific in the information that I sent out in the emails and requested that the board be copied on those. So I'm not really sure why we're exactly where we were at the last meeting on this, but I'll make a motion that the policy regarding field trip requirements as well as the response to state requirements for volunteers for school-related activities be put on the January board meeting.
Mr. Goff and members of the board, the information you requested, Mr. Goff, it is in your packet. The current policy and also the revised procedures regarding clearing volunteers to participate in school activities.
Okay.
Scott, may I ask a question? May
Sure.
I ask a question?
Ms. Owenation?
I believe one of the concerns had to do with the questionnaire that was given to volunteers that allowed them, in other words, if they didn't put traffic tickets on it, it was kicked out. That was the summary. Is that what you were concerned about?
That is exactly what it was related to, yeah.
Before we go any farther, I need a second on his motion.
I'll second his motion.
All right. And even if we stick with the same policy with the notice that there may be a policy change, we can go forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Woods.
Madam Chair, didn't the superintendent say she just put that in our packet to correct that? What we was talking about, Mr. Goff was concerned about?
But it requires a policy change.
It does not require policy change, Ms. Parsons, in that it's not so much the policy as it is the procedure that was being used. And what we've done is we've revised the checklist for the procedure regarding what needs to actually happen.
Can SLED not do it any longer because their form is different from this form of this new group that we're using to do the background checks?
It's part of it is the cost involved, because the SLED investigations, they cost us more than the other investigation. It only covers, we usually use the SLED definitely for the teachers, but when we look at volunteers, we try to use the national database so we don't miss anything.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'm looking at the application now, and what the application says down here is SLED check completed is what's actually here, and there's a star beside that. So again, my issue, I honestly don't care what service we use because they all go through the NCIC. My issue is that our procedure or our policy does not cause volunteers to be eliminated because they failed to admit that they had a traffic violation, when having a traffic violation has absolutely nothing to do with the ability for somebody to be able to volunteer in our district. And so as such, policy IJOC-R for school volunteers, I would ask that just be put on the agenda for possible revision for the January meeting, and we'll discuss it more between now and then.
All in favor of his motion, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Coachman, did you vote with us?
Yes, ma'am, I
Okay,
did.
all right. And all opposed? Which are you? Okay. So Mrs. Bright has abstained. Ms. Fleming, where are you?
I'm for putting it on the agenda for January.
Okay. All right. Raise your hands again. I'm not sure that Ms. Tweed could get. Okay. And then it was all but Ms. Bright who abstained. Did you get that? All right. So the motion is carried. Thank you. All right. Update on frequency of school drug seminars. Ms. Bright.
No, that didn't need to be on this agenda. We have already discussed that.
Okay.
So it was already.
Okay, so that's already taken care of. All right. Response to writing score question, Mr. Driggers.
Again, I think that's been addressed in this packet. Is that not true, Dr. Tiller?
Yes, sir, it has.
Yes, sir. So I'll review that, and if I have any other questions, I'll bring it back at the next meeting.
All right. And next is discussion of the evergreen clause regarding the superintendent's contract. The evergreen clause provides for an automatic extension of a year on the contract unless there is a specific motion made at this time during the year to prevent that from happening. And so I thought we needed to address that.
Madam Chair, I would, as I understand it, the contract extends now to 2018.
Yes. And if a motion is not made, it would extend to 2019.
All right, I will put a motion on the floor not to extend the contract at this time beyond 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, or is there any discussion?
I'd like to share that
That doesn't mean it can't be,
that's
but-
not the way the contract reads, and that's standard in all superintendent's contracts. And it's that the board, if the board does not conduct the superintendent's evaluation by a certain date, then it automatically renews. And as far as my evaluation is concerned, I sent to the board and gave you the notice to remind you to conduct my evaluation. So I just want you to realize that that's what it is if the evaluation is not conducted in a timely manner, then it automatically renews, and that's standard.
That's not our understanding from our attorney.
Well, I think Mr. Duff needs to be here, but it's at the pleasure of the board.
Yeah.
Mr. Goff?
Madam Chair, the issue is, and has been since the last contract, I think her original contract, once it was amended, was amended through 2017. Whether the language was unknowingly, erroneously not changed, because the original contract was like any standard contract, which is once you reach the end of the contract term, say that was 2014, 2015, if my understanding, if the board did not have an issue with the performance of the superintendent, then at that time, you would just automatically, instead of doing a new contract at the end of the current contract term, we would just go on a year-to-year basis. The way the contract was worded was that if there was not notification prior to a certain date, that the contract automatically renewed for a year. I just think the language is in the wrong place. I think the language is, and should have always been, at the end of the contract, once the contract term expires. I may not be here next year. All of us may not be here in 2018, 2019. I think that it's ill-advised for this board to take action that would bind any board to any employee or anything once we're gone. And that's all that this is. As far as this would be us deciding as a board whether or not to pursue that automatic renewal clause. It says it has to be done in writing, so I'm assuming something's going to have to be performed based on our vote, that something will have to be done and presented to the superintendent. This doesn't have anything to do with her formal evaluation.
Right.
Now, if the board so chooses, once we're doing the contract, that if we want to put that clause back where I think that it should have been the entire time, then I really don't think that there's going to be any objection to that. This is about extending a contract automatically through 2019. If there is a misunderstanding of that as the contract reads, then again, you know, we need to vote tonight, and then if Mr. Duff advises that it's any different, you know, then we can always deal with that, and if we need to come back in a special meeting or something like that, then we can deal with that.
All right.
Madam Chair, I got a question.
Ms. Bright?
If we're talking about her contract, is that not a personnel?
No, this has to be done in public.
Madam Chair.
Hang on just a second.
Yeah, I think that I would rather have Mr. Duff here before I vote on that.
There's a time problem here. The deadline is during December, unless you all are willing to come back to an additional meeting. Hang on, I get you.
Well, I would be willing to come back for an additional meeting.
All right.
I would.
Can we schedule a meeting for next
Madam
week?
Chairman, there's a motion and a second on the floor, and although we
Right.
can have discussion, and I'm happy for anybody else to discuss, I would call for the question unless someone else has something they want to say.
Yes, we do.
All right. I see Mr. Woods was first, then Ms. Fleming. Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Well, according to my understanding of the evergreen clause regarding the superintendent contract, is that superintendent supposed to put something in writing reminding the board to do, make sure that we do evaluation. And it's our responsibility as a board to conduct evaluation every year. So to me, the evergreen clause is holding us accountable to do evaluation, and also holding the superintendent accountable to notify the board within the proper time to remind us to do evaluation. So to me, by this clause, it's really stating that it's reminding us to do the evaluation, and it's our responsibility to do the evaluation every year. So
This has nothing to do with...
Right, no, what I'm saying, that's the clause, that's what it understands, that's what the evergreen clause is.
It's not.
Yes, it is. I did my whole research also. That's what that is, reminding us, she has a responsibility to remind the board it's time for evaluation, and the board has a responsibility to do evaluation every year.
All right, Ms. Fleming?
I just think Mr. Duff needs to be here. We've done this evaluation probably 2 months ago, and you're telling us tonight we have 3 weeks to make a decision on something that I think is a legal matter that involves the superintendent contract. I have no problem coming back. If you knew about this evergreen contract sooner, you should have notified us. We could have done it in a timely manner, but I will come on December 24th or 25th if necessary, because I want to do this right. Now, if you can schedule, we need to schedule a meeting with the attorney. I am not ready to go forward. I know there's a motion and a second on the floor. You do whatever you please, but this is not legally done in the correct manner.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Coachman?
I agree, Ms. Fleming, and also the evergreen clause, it does protect the school district, and it also protects the superintendent, and it's a reminder for us to do our job. Reminding you that the superintendent's contract is due and that we need to do the evaluation. I don't think this is the right manner to do it. We have legal counsel to take us through this, make sure that we're doing this right. I think we went through a situation with dealing with superintendent contract. This cost the district $400,000. I do not want to make that mistake again. And I think we need to have our attorney to move forward with this before we make a formal motion to try to change anything in the contract as it states.
We're not modifying the contract, Madam Chairman, if I...
The clause is in the contract.
We're not modifying it, and we're not terminating it. We're not doing either of those. But there is a phrase in the contract that indicates if we don't take action, and we have not done that, that's part of what happened last year that continued it for a year beyond that.
Because we did not do our job, what we're supposed to do.
This is
Well,
separate
that
from
was
the
part.
evaluation.
I don't see how the evaluation and the contract is not tied together, and they are tied together. I just don't want to go forward without our legal counsel. That's what we pay him for. And
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Again, it's my word, but, I do not think that based on conversations I've had with Mr. Duff that we are misinterpreting what the intent of that clause is, and that it's only related to the automatic renewal clause.
Right.
And that is what we are dealing with.
That's right.
So that's...
well, then I wish Mr. Duff would be here in this audience with our constituents there to say that. If he said that to you personally, that was a personal conversation. But for me to make a decision, and we have an audience full of people, and our attorney is not here to say that very same thing that he said to you, I don't want to be involved with that.
Well, the agenda went out on, what day did it go out? Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday. So everyone had an opportunity, if they felt they needed to have the attorney here, to have that happen. Ms. Owenation has called for the question.
This is not an issue where we cannot renegotiate a contract. This is simply not extending the contract beyond 2018. There's a continuation of a contract for 2 years. That's all this is, a stipulation that at this time, at this moment in time, we are not extending beyond that. That doesn't mean
automatic.
we can't change our minds or whatever.
What's the rush that we have to do it tonight?
And it's just this.
The rush is part. There's not a rush. The contract simply states that if the action is not taken prior to the end of the year, then the contract automatically renews. And again, this is something that took place last year that was unbeknownst to the board, because again, the original contract language was not modified where it should have been and put the automatic renewal at the end of the contract. That's where it should have been. Again, that's the only thing I'm voting on. If there's an issue and Mr. Duff comes back and says there's an issue, then by all means, the board could reconvene and deal with that. But I think in accordance with her written contract, I think that the matter has been properly presented and needs to be voted on in regards to the automatic renewal clause. If there's any issues, we could deal with that at
Had we known that this evergreen clause was going to be on the agenda prior to Thursday,
Mr. Driggers,
that's
who
fine.
hasn't spoken. Mr. Driggers.
What I'm understanding here is we're talking about the automatic renewal.
Right.
And my understanding is from here we would like to have it done in the proper procedure. Now, I'm new on the board, but I do remember last November that it was taken care of without the lawyer being here. I remember that it was done in November and there was still a whole month left to do the evaluation. So, I mean, I'm kind of mixed up here a little bit, because last year it was okay to do it, this year it's not okay to do it, which I don't have a problem with that. I really want to finish the evaluation. That is the proper way of doing it. But I just don't see how we can do it 1 year one way and do it wrong next year. But I have no problem with what we're looking at tonight, because what we're trying to do is stop anything that might possibly come about. So what we're trying to do here is keep what happened last year from happening again, by not doing the evaluation, by doing this ruling. What we're also doing is we're going to come back and we're going to finish up the evaluation, because the evaluation process has started. I do truly want to finish the evaluation process. That is part of our job on this board, and we need to do that. So I just want to make that statement. Like I said, I don't understand why it was okay last year without the attorney here, and it's not okay this year.
We didn't do what we were supposed to do last year.
I have the contract.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'm going to recognize Mr. Branch.
Well, that's what I was going to say, part of what Danny said. You know, we've done the evaluation. We just haven't finished reading the results and presenting the results. So the evaluation was actually done prior to receiving notification from the superintendent. And, you know, a lot of the board members said that they didn't feel comfortable tonight discussing the contract or making changes to the contract. But, you know, a little over a year ago, they felt comfortable making changes to the contract without our attorney present. So,
Was there any changes to the contract, Mr. Branch?
Yes,
Or would
there was some
would you
changes
cite
to the
them? Would you
contract.
cite them for me,
There
please?
was
sir?
some.
What changes were they?
This is,
well, they extended the contract for a year last
I mean, that was
November.
automatically done because we hadn't done what we were supposed to do.
They changed it to a supermajority. That was a change in the contract.
That was one thing, but we did, if we had done, if I'm understanding this correctly, and Mr. Drakers, I appreciate what you're saying, if we had done our evaluation in a timely manner, did it, and then this clause wouldn't have happened, the board is the one that, and I'm part of that board, we didn't do what we were supposed to do last year.
But that
And
was done.
that's why it automatically extended.
But I distinctly remember Mr. Goff saying that night, I don't feel comfortable doing any changes to that contract without our attorney present. But it didn't matter.
And it was
Well,
done
we
in
are talking about-
November, and we still
I
have a whole
recognize
month,
Mr.
2
Goff.
months.
Madam Chair, this is from the language from the last, this is from her actual contract. Under Section 9 is evaluation, Section 10 is renewal. For the record,
And
Section
renewal is
9.
when something ends.
Section 9 says the board and superintendent shall meet at least once annually and may include other appropriate school officials of the district for the purpose of establishing district goals and objectives for the ensuing school year. Said goals and objectives shall be reduced to writing and be among the criteria by which the superintendent is evaluated. The annual meeting shall normally be held this summer, however, with the initial meeting to be scheduled no later than September 2011. The board shall evaluate the superintendent. For this purpose, the superintendent shall submit a recommendation format for conducting the evaluation. The board shall meet and discuss the proposed format, attempting in good faith to reach consensus with the superintendent on the format. Therefore, the board shall adopt an evaluation format. All of that's done. Still under Section 9, to conclude the evaluation, the board shall meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing results of evaluation and any related matters such as terms of the superintendent's contract. The results of the evaluation, any conclusions drawn by the board shall be shared with the superintendent both verbally in executive session and in the form of a written summary. The superintendent shall have the right to respond. This is all in this is all still in Section 9. Section 10, a completely separate section of the contract, renewal. And this is what it states. If the district does not notify the superintendent in writing before January 15th, 2014, and any subsequent contract year thereafter that this employment contract will not be renewed, it shall be deemed that the district has renewed this employment contract for 1 year, extending from the termination date set forth above. The superintendent shall remind the board in writing of the existence of the automatic renewal clause. Such notice shall be provided 2 months prior to the December board meeting or of any subsequent year thereafter. That's all in Section 10.
So we can do...
Has nothing to do with the superintendent's evaluation. This is the automatic renewal clause.
So we have to January 15th to do this, is that correct?
We have until January
Okay.
15th, but the bottom line is that this has nothing to do with the superintendent's contract. The extension last year
Madam Chairman,
had
excuse me,
nothing to do
Mr.
with the
Goff, I
superintendent's
appreciate what you're saying. That was wonderful. Thank you for reading that. I do call for the question.
all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Administrative Services, Dr. McLeod, the Marlboro County High School senior trip to Orlando, Florida and Tampa. We need a vote on that, and the AMI Kid Infinity trip to Hudson, Florida. For what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't do that. I'm sorry. will go back. The winners of the Christmas cards, and I presume that is Dr. Howell doing that.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, members of the audience, we are pleased tonight once again to recognize the winners of the Superintendent's Annual Holiday Christmas Card Art Contest. As I call their names, we've asked them to be present tonight. As you can see, the Christmas cards have been framed. Currently, the actual Christmas cards are at the printers to be printed, and each of you, of course, will receive a greeting from the superintendent as well as various members of our school district community. We have 6 winners tonight. We have 3 honorable mentions and 3 grand prize winners. Our honorable mentions will receive a $25 check, and our grand prize winners will each receive a $100 check from the school district. I'm going to ask Dr. Tiller to come as we call their names. Mackenzie Gore from the School of Discovery. Please join me in Zach Rogers, honorable mention, Wallace Elementary School. Cade Williams, McCall Elementary Middle School. All right. Wayne White, grand prize winner, Marlboro County High School. Samantha Vagoria, grand prize winner, Marlboro County High School. And Travis McRae, grand prize winner, Bennettsville Intermediate School.
Have you got the trick chair? That looks like a commercial grade candy. You know, it's like a real Christmas card. Yeah.
Very nice.
While we're getting our pictures together, we'd like to present these nice checks to our students. Mackenzie Gore, honorable mention. Zach.
He's playing basketball.
Sure.
It's fair.
Our grand prize winners, $100 piece, Wayne. Samantha Vagoria, prize winner, $100. Travis McRae. All right.
Ex-Marine, he's got to get them lined up. Cute smile.
And next is the Technology Spotlight Award, Ms. Battle. You're being Ms. Battle tonight, aren't you?
Exactly. Ms. Parsons, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, good evening. Our Technology Spotlight Award winner for the month of November is Mrs. Brandy Garrett. Mrs. Garrett is an 8th grade teacher at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. Mrs. Garrett was nominated for her creative use of technology in her daily lessons. During the class period in which Mrs. Garrett was observed for this award, she did an outstanding job of grouping. Mrs. Garrett's students worked in small groups using multiple software programs such as YouTube, Gizmos, BrainPop to summarize behaviors of waves. It was truly a joy to watch these students investigate reflection and refraction, which I also learned about, using different types of multimedia in the classroom setting. I would like to congratulate Ms. Garrett and ask her to please come forward.
No giggling. Okay, Carl.
Congratulations. And next is the Cleanliness Award, Dr. Cobb. I had no idea why earlier I just jumped a whole, it's like watching a record jump a track.
It's okay. The results count.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, school board members, audience, the Cleanliness Award for the month of November, presented this 7th day of December 2015 for the school building facilities, again goes to the Matheson Street Annex and their custodial staff. My deep breath was because they won it over and over again.
They apparently have learned how to win it.
No, they clean real well.
That's what I mean. That's how they win it.
They're supposed to get a lunch, but it's not that.
Ms. Zimmerman, smile. And the Cleanliness Awards for the schools goes to Bennettsville Primary School. I ask the custodial staff and the principal from Bennettsville Primary to come forward.
Messing up. Just go do it over to the side. Yeah. Is that it, Dr. Cobb? Okay, thank you. All right, Dr. McLeod, we've got the Marlboro County High School senior trip to Orlando, Florida and Tampa, and the AMI Kid Infinity trip to Hudson, Florida. Can we lump these together, everybody?
Yes.
And funds are paid for and chaperones are arranged and all of that, right?
Right.
All-
Motion
some-
we approve
okay.
that. Can we just go ahead and approve those field trips? You got any problems with it? Make a motion to approve those 2 field trips.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, update on school projects.
And members of the board, Dr. Tiller, within your packet, you see my summary, and I have Mr. Andy Fouché here tonight to give you some updates on the baseball complex. Mr. Fouché.
Here at the high school.
Yeah. The press box here at the high school.
Welcome.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, as he said, I'm Andy Fouché with Precision Contractors. We were selected to design and build the complex between the 2 ball fields out here. I think one of the reasons Dr. McLeod asked me to come was that he, as well as we, are disappointed in the lack of progress. You know, I'm not going to make excuses. It was our responsibility, my responsibility, to bring all the elements of this together. And we certainly learned a lesson or 2 in dealing with OSF. We'd never dealt with them before. That being said, we can't change what's happened. What I can do is tell you where we're at and where we're going. As of tomorrow, we'll be installing cabinetry and countertops. Later this week, we'll be installing the plumbing fixtures, and right after that, we'll be putting in toilet partitions and toilet accessories. We'll also be reworking the depth of the sewer line out there. We discovered after the fact that it needed to be lower than what was installed, so we're going to redo that. We feel very confident that we'll finish this in its entirety by the end of this year. We may have a delay in getting final approval from OSF. There are 4 people in that department that handle the state, and they request 30 days action on most items that they have. They're aware of where we're at, but we need to finish and then notify them. And certainly I'm here to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Who's paying for reworking the sewer lines?
No one's paying for it. That's our responsibility.
Thank you. Okay. That's good.
Yes.
Right. Anybody else got a question?
We appreciate you being, I'm assuming we've met all the financial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I guess I'm one of them, because I've been on the forefront of this. That was probably a little disappointed in the timeline of it. I haven't been out there in the last couple of weeks to look at it, but as long as we're good, started before baseball, as long as we're good before baseball season starts, then I think, I think we'll be okay.
Once again, it's clearly taken 2 to 3 months longer than what it should have, and we're a little smarter. I think we could do that, certainly in less time. But it's our responsibility, the money-wise, it's our responsibility to correct anything that's there. We also will extend the 1-year materials and workmanship warranty, as we do on everything we do. So for 12 months after we finish and it's accepted, anything that you find that's wrong with it, we'll correct at our expense.
I appreciate your straightforward, honest presentation. It's very nice. Does anybody else have a question?
I do. You have
Mr. Driggers.
You said something about the school board, the school, Office of School.
Yes.
Facilities.
What kind of time frame are you looking at as far as, you said it may be a little bit of a problem? Can you give any idea?
They request 30 days to do anything. So once we're finished and I notify them that we're finished, they can take up to 30 days to come and do their final inspection.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I guess so. That you said they need 30 days, but is that a minimum for them, or?
It's a maximum for them. It's a maximum of 30.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We may have another concession stand, so you think you've learned the ropes with OSF now?
I certainly hope so. Thank you once again for allowing us to do this for you.
Thank you, we appreciate your work. All right, next, response to field trip requirements, current school procedures, information only.
I think we can.
We've tended to it?
I think we're dealing with that in January. So.
Okay. All right, January. Okay, so that's tended to. Response to state requirements for volunteers for school-related activities, that same too? Yeah. Okay. We'll be sure I don't skip anything. All right, Mr. Parks, financial report as of November the 9th, 2015.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, you have before you the information in the packet regarding the financial statement as of November 9th, 2015. I don't know if there's any questions. I'll be glad to entertain those.
Any questions? We're good to go. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Parks.
very
That was
good.
easy, wasn't it?
It was. Same information is included for the Wallace School construction project update if there's
All
any
right.
questions there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, adult education, Mr. Jorgensen. School Improvement Council update, information only.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, in your packet you have information regarding the South Carolina School Improvement Council. We held our district-wide training on November 9th, and at this time I'm honored to report that all schools in Marlboro County are in compliance with the School Improvement Council. The report in your packet is for informational purposes only, but at this time if you have any questions I'll entertain them.
Any questions?
Congratulations on that. I understand the training went very well.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, curriculum and instruction and assessment, Dr. Howell.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, members of the audience, we're pleased to share with you tonight the value-added scores, as they are called, as it relates to our TAP program, our Teacher Advancement Program here in Marlboro County School District. Each year, as we work with TAP, it has to do with student growth from one year to the next, and that's what we're about as a state, and that is to grow our students from year to year. Tonight we are excited to share with you the value-added scores for our schools, and we've asked our schools, our principals are here, and some of their staff members are here as well. These scores are coming from last year's school term, not this current year. Next year, this time, we will hopefully celebrate, and I'm sure that we will, the same kind of success for this year's. But these scores that we're talking about tonight are coming from last year's work that was done in our schools with the staff and administrators who were present in the schools on last year. There are 5 scores. There is a score of 1, which is where a school has missed some growth. Then there's a score of 2, where students are not quite meeting expectations. Then there's a score of 3, where a school is meeting a year's growth. A score of 4 is considered exceeding a year's growth, and a value-added score of 5 is significantly exceeding a year's growth. In our school district, we are pleased to announce that we have 3 schools with a value-added score of 5. I'm going to ask them to stand as I call their names. With a value-added score of 5, Bennettsville Intermediate. With a value-added score of 5, Blenheim Elementary Middle. And also with a score of 5, McCall Elementary Middle. With a rating of 4, Marlboro County High School. And then finally, with ratings of 3, Clio Elementary Middle School. Marlboro School of Discovery. And Wallace Elementary Middle School. The staff members and administrators of each of our schools, including our primary school and all of our schools, will be receiving monetary awards prior to going home for Christmas. Each of them is excited about that, and we are excited for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Howell. right, Dr. Cobb, our Human Resources, we're going to get information on the Kelly services.
Madam Chair, school board members, you have in your packet a recap of surveys given to school administrators regarding Kelly educational staffing for information. And if you have any questions or concerns from the information that's in your packet, the pros and the cons, we have some members of Kelly educational staff in here that will address any questions or concerns that you may have.
Yeah, I have.
Mr. Coachman?
Yeah, my concerns are the same concerns I had last month. Basically, getting a lot of teachers are being moved around, and also the pay. Some of the pay is not the same as it was before it went to Cali Service as we promised in some areas, and just want some answers to why. And I don't think that we getting enough from the Cali Service staff to support us other than through emails, and I don't think the physical implication of the services has been what it needs to be to fully be effective for the substitute here, and what can be done to change that and to improve on it.
Mr. Parks has a furrowed brow, so I have a feeling you want to.
Let me address the pay issue. The pay is the same for Kelly as it was with the district. We determine the rate of pay, and the rate of pay has not changed from the time that we were operating the district subservice to the time that Kelly took over.
So if some employees' money is different and lower in pay, it's not anybody's fault, or they're not telling the truth?
The only question I don't know is if they were being paid. There are timekeeping requirements associated with Kelly service. So if they're not working the entire day, that could impact pay. I think in the past we paid in full day increments, regardless of whether or not the substitutes work the entire day or not. So that's the only question I could see that would enter into this.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Ms. O'Nation?
We are hearing many complaints that the pay is less, and you have told us last time that the rate of pay is the same. Now, you're talking about the rate per hour, is that correct?
Per day, and of course that's divided by 7.5 hours.
Okay. How much difference now from what it was before in terms of the length of the school day? Do you have any idea about that? We're just concerned that we're hearing so much. Okay, so in other words, when you're saying they're being paid for half a day, is that the same or different?
You got a lot of out there.
I know it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand the folks who have been substitutes and some of the new substitutes, all of whom seem to me to be honorable people. I think Mr. Coachman and I maybe have heard more than others that they're saying that they're not using the phrase rate of pay. They're saying they're making substantially less. And our promise to them was that they were going to do better and have options in the summer and, that type of thing.
Right.
So they were looking to have a better situation.
Are they saying they're having less days of subbing?
They're making
too?
less money per month.
Per month, and
Let's
I guess
just say it like it is.
the question
They're
is
making
whether
less
or not
money.
they're making less per day, or are they subbing fewer days during the month? So that might be a question.
It must be fewer
as well.
days. But I have not had a chance to talk to the superintendent about it, but I have some specifics which
I think these are
bring
permanent
to
subs
the superintendent.
that are working every day, just like they were last year. The money's just less than what they.
If they're permanent subs, they work for the district. They don't work for Kelly Service.
Okay.
Right. So it's not permanent subs that I'm talking about. Hi, is this Kelly Services?
Yes.
Okay. And the secondary part of this is some schools are thrilled and some are not so thrilled about the substitutes when they're coming, how they're hearing about them, how they're being moved around the schools. Now, I know every situation is different. It's very difficult to pinpoint that. But What is going on? Why is there such a discrepancy between some schools being very happy and some not? Do you have a handle on that?
No, when you say that they're being moved around from schools, do you have an example of what you mean by that?
Yeah, they'll be told they're coming in to do a certain class. When they get there, they're moved.
Okay, so...
To simplify that's happening.
I can give you an example of something that would be a situation like that. A school has an absence, we fill it, we send the sub to that school. The school has already then decided they were going to fill it internally. Well, it's either we pay them show up pay, or we go ahead and send them to another school that has a full day absence or another absence that we can get them to work that day. So that would be, for instance, if we are shuffling them from one school to another, that would be a good example of why.
When you're saying the school is filling it internally, explain that to me.
What that means is, so there's cutoff times. Say in the morning they call in at 7 and say, we have an absence, this teacher's going to be out, can you get somebody to us? We go ahead and start working on it, but say we can't get anybody there till 9. They've had to cover for an hour and a half, and sometimes that school, instead of rather allowing our substitute to work, they're just going to go ahead and do what they need to do to fill it internally and move their teachers around and not take our substitute when they get there.
I have another question. I understand our permanent subs are employees of the district. How could our permanent subs, the employees of the district, be entered into the Kelly service system to have to work a Kelly service schedule?
They're not. They don't.
That's not what okay. That's not what we're getting from the people.
That's not.
We get complaints from the people being put.
If they're permanent subs, we need to know what the real complaint is, because if they're permanent subs, they're employees of the school district.
I understand that.
And we pay them.
Yeah, you pay them.
Right. So they report to work every day at the same school, and the principal decides where they're going to be placed based on the absence that they have.
So they won't be able to go to Kelly service and find their name inside of Kelly service to be substituted if they're employees of the district. That's what you're saying?
Not if they're
Their information is in ASAP, but it's listed as a building preferred sub. And so they're not able to see any absences. It's just that's the only way they can, in a way, for the school district to be able to keep up with that person, and so we're not double filling an absence. Does that make sense?
It makes a little, but it still doesn't explain what I'm asking.
Mr. Coachman, one thing to keep in mind is where we have permanent subs in schools, this is where we had an overabundance of teacher assistants, and we were trying to make sure that we could keep them in the system, and this was a couple of years ago. And we placed them as permanent subs so they would still work at those schools. So those folks should still be in place, and they are still employees of the district. And anytime a TA position becomes available, a vacancy, then we move them out of those permanent sub positions into those TA positions. So again, any permanent sub should not be impacted by Kelly services one way or the other. Some of the employees that have come to you, were they working in more than one capacity in the school district?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Tell me how the Affordable Care Act, how you're handling that.
That currently is all handled out of our corporate office, so I can get you additional information regarding that, but we do track everything.
So are these employees insured? Do they have health insurance benefits?
That, like I said, all of that is done through corporate. Every hour is managed, everything is tracked. So I can get you additional information regarding that. I just don't have
You don't have to itemize it, that's all right, but I'm just wondering, there seemed to be some anticipation on the part of our folks that they would have health care benefits, and I just want to know, do they? And is it based on how many hours they work or what's happening there? And you can get back to me on that.
They do have the option for health care, and then, they have the option of ACA and then the Kelly added benefits of health care.
And that comes out of their check?
Yes, ma'am,
This
the
could be
a la
why they're
carte.
getting less. Okay. I have a question.
Ms. Fleming?
I'm looking at you had 18, the survey, 18 pros, which is good, but you had 14 cons, things that they were problem. Are you working on these things that people had a problem with the cons? Do you see that as a problem, or is it something that you think you can take care of?
They have already all been addressed and taken care of.
Were the cons, were they something that you just missed, or was it that you were able to explain it where the district or whomever made the cons make them understand it better? Or this was just a deficiency in your program?
No, ma'am, we were able to explain every situation, and for those situations that we weren't able to, we've asked for additional information and are waiting for that.
Because since the last time you were here, I had two encounters, two parents came to me, not necessarily with a complaint, but in the conversation came up about your services and whether they understood. I couldn't explain it because I didn't know, but then when I got this report here, when I got the agenda, and I saw where these things were, that I'm just, it's just this is already what school started September, and it's really at the end of December. So hopefully these things can be worked out. But I haven't had anyone complain about the money, but it's just the strangeness of their children, and it's something that I'm hoping that if you're going to keep your company here working with these children, these cons need to go away. They just absolutely need to go away, and let everyone feel comfortable.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Goff?
Keep jumping on that.
I'll address this back to the superintendent. I think we talked a little bit last time about keeping up with the administrators. Have you seen an increase or a decrease in complaints or issues coming from the school level? Have there been any issues brought forward?
No increase.
No inquiries.
Mr. Triggers?
I got one I don't quite understand on the cons. What does it mean when it says they send out too many emails about absentees? What is that?
They get a daily report, they get an absence notification report, and every time an absence is filled report. So there's 3 emails that come every morning, but then every time there's a change to an absence, there's another email that comes behind it to try and help them stay up to abreast of what's going on in their school.
That's the absence of the teachers?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to make a motion that we come back next month and make a decision on whether we're going to go up or down or continue in this direction. And maybe we can get some more questions and answers between here or there. We'll follow up with it.
I'll second.
All right, this was for information only.
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure what we're talking here. We're talking about next month coming back and discussing to see what progress has been made or not made. Is that what we're talking about?
Make a motion to move forward state of course. I'll move on.
Actually, you don't even need a motion for this. If you want it on the agenda next month, we'll just put it on the agenda. And then we stay straight with the information only piece. Is that all right with everybody?
Sure.
Just follow it, okay.
So Ms. Tweed, would you and Dr. Tiller put that on the agenda for next month? And thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Tiller.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The first thing I'd like to share this evening is this year we've instituted a leadership academy for aspiring principals and administrators, and this is due to the shortage in principals and administrators in our state and the country. Our district has decided that we're going to work on growing our own. The first session, entitled "So You Want to Be a Principal," included roundtable discussions and professional development on administrative interviews, hiring, hot topics in education, and future school administration. Participants in the program are recommended by their principals as well as by district staff, or they can volunteer themselves to be a part of the cohort. And our first cohort is made up of 27 members, and this is aspiring members from across the district, from our different schools. Instructors/facilitators for the aspiring principals and administrators academy are retired principals and superintendents from across South Carolina. Future plans are to survey teachers, aides, and support staff to determine if there is an interest in obtaining a teaching degree, so we can work on growing our own teachers as well. And if we have enough interest in that area, we will be working with neighboring colleges and universities so that they can receive the appropriate coursework. And hopefully this will help us to increase our teacher pool and not be affected so by the shortage across the state. Last month we hosted and had the pleasure of hosting Leadership Bennettsville on November 19th at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. The greater portion of the day was spent explaining and sharing our organizational structure, our vision, mission, and purpose, as well as our students' accomplishments with the members of Leadership Bennettsville. And this is an 11-month course, and I think that most folks are familiar with Leadership Bennettsville, and we work very closely with Ms. Orla King and also Ken Harmon, Mr. Ken Harmon. Update on the completion of the new school in Wallace. Back in November, early November, our teachers, students, and administrators participated in a survey and selection process to select furniture for the new school. And the teachers and students had a real good time with this. And we actually went with the chairs and things that the students selected and the teachers. And so we're looking forward to getting the new furniture in. Some of that furniture started arriving today, and we'll be receiving furniture throughout this week, the remainder of this week, and I think one shipment on next week. I did have a conference call with Jumper, Carter, and Cease, and Thompson and Turner regarding the completion timeline for the new school. The construction team has assured me that quality would not be sacrificed for us to complete the building in December. They've assured me that the quality will be there, and we're on track to meet that deadline. We have had our overhead inspection, and that went well, and there was a punch list as a result of that overhead inspection, some things that they have to go back and do, and they've already started working on that. And the administration, we've tentatively scheduled to begin moving into the new school on December 16th. That's pending final inspection and being issued the certificate of occupancy by the South Carolina Office of School Facilities. The school will be also open during designated days throughout the winter break to provide teachers adequate time to prepare to receive students at the first of the year. So, and we're looking at, I've been working along with the staff, faculty and staff at Wallace to determine a date for the ribbon cutting and actual grand opening, and we're looking at probably February to give the staff some time to be settled. Yes, sir.
Do we have an open house date where maybe members of the community from the county, around the county could stop?
Right, that's what I mean when I say the grand opening.
Grand opening, okay.
The grand opening will probably be in February because at this point we're looking at the Christmas break. The district will move. We will be responsible for moving teachers, resources and their materials, instructional materials and things to the new school. And that's going to take place on the 16th. And then after that, the teachers will have from the 16th, 17th, and 18th that they'd like to go in the afternoons and work on their classroom, or if they would like to come back at some point during the Christmas break, we will have the building available, open for them. And then once we get back, there'll just be about 3 weeks, and then we'll be into February. So that's the reason we say the grand opening will be held in February. This weekend is the North and South game, All-Star game, and I'd like to share that and congratulate Coach Dean Boyd and Coach Randy Neely, also Francois McFall, and Kajana Johnson for being selected to participate in the annual North-South Football All-Star Game. Coach Dean Boyd has been selected as the head coach for the South team, and Coach Randy Neely has been selected as the official scout for the South team. Marlboro County High School students Francois McFall and Kajana Johnson were selected to the 44-player roster. And the game will be held this Saturday. It's going to be at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium in Myrtle Beach. And this is a great honor for our coaches and our students, and congratulations to them. I also want to share that we received a grant from the Carolina Panthers. They offered $200,000 in flood grant relief to North and South Carolina high schools that were affected by the recent flooding in our 2 states. Schools could apply for a grant up to $25,000 in relief. Marlboro County High applied for the grant on November 16th. Coach Boyd was contacted by Peter Vaco from the Carolina Panthers on Tuesday, November 24th, to share that Marlboro County High School would be awarded $15,000 from the grant, and this money will be used to help for any type of work that we need done on our football field, any repairs. We would like to thank the Carolina Panthers for their continued support of our high school program. And this is the second grant that we've received from the Panthers. The first one was earlier this summer when our football team received jerseys in the amount of $5,000. The United States Department of Agriculture Team Nutrition Grant, our district was selected to participate in this grant, and this deals with promoting child nutrition programs and also healthy eating and healthy living. And so we have been a part of this grant, and we're looking forward to the results, because it's all about helping our kids to make healthy choices and to make sure that we're providing healthy meals for them. Under the curriculum end, a big thanks goes out to the Domtar Corporation for funding the South Carolina Aquarium Roving Science Lab to provide science classes for all 7th grade students in the district. The South Carolina Aquarium provided classes at the School of Discovery and Clio Elementary Middle School on Wednesday, December 2nd, and Thursday, December 3rd, respectively. The aquarium is also scheduled to be at our other middle school sites this month, and I've included the schedule for members of the board in your folder. And we are really excited about this program, and thank you to Domtar. Domtar made a great contribution to the aquarium, and in return for their contribution, they asked that they come and bring this program to our students here in Marlboro County. So we're very excited about that. Also at the primary school, Bennettsville Primary and Bennettsville Intermediate schools, our students had a visit to the South Carolina State Museum, and we're excited about that. And thank you to teachers Stephanie Tyson and Javon Day because they were instrumental in making this happen for our students. On Wednesday, December 2nd, the South Carolina Department of Education sent notice to all district superintendents that Data Recognition Corporation, which is known as DRC, has been awarded the contract for assessments for grades 3 through 8, English Language Arts, and Mathematics. The contract is for up to 5 years. So that means that last year we took ACT Aspire, our kids did for the first time, and then this coming year we will be going back to the DRC, which is the past that we've had in the past. The finance report, the financial audit for 2015 performed by Derek Stubbs and Stith LLC will be presented to the board in January. I have included a list of upcoming events being held at our schools for board members. I think Ms. Tweed also sent a copy out to you electronically. In addition to that, on January 4th, Monday, will be used to make up the day we missed during October due to the historical South Carolina flood. Additional information, members of the board, that's in your packet is the out-of-district travel for October and November. There's a legal brief. Also, we shared this information with all of our staff members and students, what to do when stopped by a police officer. And I want you to know that we shared this because of all of the incidents that we've heard about across the country, and we felt that it was important that everyone knows what they should do if they're stopped by law enforcement. And the last thing I'd like to share this evening before I conclude my report is this year, the report card, the South Carolina State Report Card, we received a few weeks ago. And anyone who wants to see the report card and be able to look at the district or the school's report card in depth, you can go to the South Carolina Department of Education website, .gov. But I do want to share a couple of charts with you this evening that so you will know where we are as a district. Across the state as a whole on the ACT Aspire, and I know that our House of Representative member, Ms. Hennigan, is here, and I'm pretty sure she's heard this at her state meetings as well. But the state of South Carolina did not do well on the ACT Aspire. We had pockets of good performance, but it's the same across the state. So when you go to that website, if you look at Marlboro County and you look at all the other counties like ours and counties that are much larger than ours, you'll see that the performance on the ACT Aspire was about the same across the board. It wasn't that great. One of the things that we feel is, one, it was a new test, and two, for the last 15, 20 years, we've been telling kids when they take the state standardized test, take all the time you need. Take your time and answer your questions. This last year, everything was timed. It was new for our students, even though we practiced it. And if you read articles and read statements from our state superintendent, Molly Spearman, you'll hear the same thing. But anyway, I do want to share a few highlights from that information, and I have some charts, and I would invite the public and everybody to look at these charts when you get a chance. But there are just a few things that I want to share tonight. One is our SAT performance, and our students increased in SAT performance, and we were very happy to see that. And let me give you, in 2014, our students in SAT, hold on one second, okay, I'm looking at, in 2014, in the area of critical reading, our kids scored 379. This past year, they scored 406. In math, our kids in 2014 scored 398. This past year, they scored 411. In writing, in 2014, our kids scored 369. This year, they scored 397. Our average composite score in 2014 was 1146. This year is 1214. So we're happy that that has gone up. If you look at the scatter plot, and the scatter plot, I don't see it. Oh, okay, I just can't see it. Okay. There's a scatter plot on the end of the table there, and that's dealing with our district graduation. And the way graduation is looked at a 5-year cohort and a 4-year cohort. The 4-year is those students who started in 9th grade and they graduated within 4 years. The 5-year cohort are those students who started in 9th grade, but maybe they graduated in the summer. And so when we look back at 2012, Marlboro County, we were at 64.5 and 64.8. And the 4-year cohort, we were at 64.8, and the 5-year, we were at 64.5. And in 2013, we went up to 75.3, and then we stayed the same with the 5-year cohort at 64.5. But then in 2015, we went up to 76.9 with the 5-year cohort and 77.2 with the 4-year. So our graduation rate now with both our 4-year and our 5-year cohort is 77.2. So we're proud of that. In addition to that, I want to call your attention to the work keys. The work keys, this is the percent of students meeting platinum, gold, or silver threshold. And this test was administered to all our 11th graders. What we have here is the district is in purple and the state is in blue. In applied mathematics, the state average was 71.2, our district average was 62.2. In reading for information, the state average was 93.2, our district average was 90.9. You can clap for that.
That's very nice.
We're very proud of our students. In locating information, the state average was 87.7, our district's average was 83.9.
That's also good.
Yes. In addition to that, I'd just like to share, in the state of South Carolina, we're charged with meeting the profile of the South Carolina graduate, and there are several things that are looked at in that South Carolina graduate profile, but one thing that I wanted to mention that I'm very encouraged by is that our district, when we look at teachers returning from previous years, our district is at 88.2%. That's a good thing. Because we know if we're going to have traction and be able to move forward with student achievement, we need our teachers to stay with us. And in addition to that, I'd also just like to share that we had 65.3% of our graduates going on to 2-year, 4-year institutions, one or the other. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
One other question, Dr. Tiller, on score. I see the scores out there on the, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Not trying to be rude, just excited about the good score. Out on the wall, I see a lot of the AB honor roll students.
Yes.
That's for this year? Well, seniors and all the other students?
Yes, the AB honor roll information you see displayed in the schools, yes. That's our current year information.
Is that a significant improvement? I see where like our seniors, 12.5% of all A's and 25.9% of all AB honor roll?
It is. That's a significant improvement for us, as well as several of our K-8 schools as well. We've seen increases in honor roll at McCall, Clio, and I can go on and on, but our kids are doing very well. They're working hard, and that's because our teachers are working hard.
Thank you.
Ms. Fleming.
Thank you for this update. At the legislative meeting in Hilton Head, we had people from the Senate, and they talked a lot about the students that's not going to college, to be prepared for the workforce. And I thought about our Work Keys program, and I've heard so much through the years how well we've done. And seeing this today, it just really kind of put the icing on the cake, because they talked a lot about their recruiting industry, and they're not looking. Everybody's not going to college, but they need to have a workforce that's ready to work. And that's what our Work Keys program is doing here in Marlboro County. And to see that we are doing so well, and whomever is doing it, just continue to do that, because that's what our legislators are saying. We need people prepared to walk into BMW, Boeing, and all these other companies that's coming in. They are looking for that prepared workforce, and that's what I think our Work Keys does for our students. Thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Thank you.
Ms. Parsons, I just wanted to say too that our percentage of students served by gifted and talented programs is up from 9% to about 10.1, and it's wonderful about the dual enrollment.
Yes.
We're up from 16 to 28, and we want to focus on that because that gives them this opportunity to get that college credit and to get certified for work. Very pleased about that, and that our percentage of students being retained has gone down from 3.7 to 3.2, which I think is wonderful. And that deserves a hand too, all of those things.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session for approval of elections and resignations, use of administrative leave, and continuation of the superintendent's evaluation.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
All right, is there a second? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Do you not want to go into executive session?
I don't have a problem going to executive session, but you said the term administrative leave, is that a policy for that?
No.
And if it's a policy, we need to discuss in an open session?
No. Do you think I'm wanting to put somebody on administrative leave?
I don't know what you want to do. I'm just asking the question.
I just want to discuss. That's not what this is about.
I just want to ask the question. If this is a policy, I was just asking whether it's a policy or not. If it's a policy, we need to discuss in an open session. Dr. Tiller, can you help me with that?
It is. It's part of the policy.
It is a policy? So that's what I'll ask you.
All right, if you want to discuss that. My concern is the amount of time that people are being put on administrative leave and the lengthy investigations and so on. I think they should get on with it quicker and not have teachers out of the classroom for several weeks to 5 months and so on. That was my concern, and I wanted to ask questions without, it's hard to do it here without divulging names.
I understand.
That's all it was about.
Yeah.
Were you worried it was something else?
No, ma'am, I just understand that it's a policy, and if it's a policy, we can't discuss it in executive session.
It's not about policy, it's just what's being done.
It's policy, and policy needs to be discussed in open session.
Okay.
We don't have to call her name, just discuss policy.
Well, I basically stated my piece. I think that using extended, for an infraction to then take a teacher out of the classroom for several weeks is a bit ludicrous, and it disturbs me that there's not some means of redirecting behavior other than administrative leave.
If I could just share, Ms. Parsons, the way with administrative leave, it's designed to, one, protect the employee while the investigation is going on of whatever the situation may be. That's one thing, is to protect the employee. The other thing is to give the administration an opportunity to conduct the investigation. The other thing is for the administration to work along with law enforcement if it's something criminal in nature. If it's not something criminal in nature, the district is working along with legal counsel, and we don't make a move until legal counsel say, yes, you can reinstate this person, or no, we cannot. And that's to protect the district. And that's the reason. Sometimes that process may be cut and dry, and it may take a shorter period of time, and other times it's not that cut and dry. It depends on the situation at hand to determine how long someone is actually remains on administrative leave versus being able to come back, how quickly they're able to come back, or if they're able to come back.
It concerned me that a teacher who had had a 34-year track record of really good work said one bad word in a very frustrating situation, and she was out for several weeks. And that is a concern to me. And if it's not to you all, so be it. But
I think you're asking, are there some guidelines about this? And what the superintendent is saying, it's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
But I think we can encourage the administration to move as quickly as possible so that we don't have, long-term teachers not in there teaching, especially during these times. And I'm sure that you
That's exactly what we do. We don't want them not to be there either, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we've covered all our bases, because if you don't, then what can happen, it can be something very negative on the district.
It's not that I agree, I understand what you're saying, Ms. Parson, but when you have other agencies involved, they have other work to do, and sometimes what we are looking for, it may not be a priority, and knowing with law enforcement, I think if it was just up to the district to do it, it could be done faster. But when other agencies are involved, and then it's just, I would like to see it done faster too, because
there were no other agencies involved. I mean, this was literally not in the circumstance I'm talking about.
Well, I'm not aware of that circumstance.
Legal was involved in this
okay, I'm not aware of that circumstance. So if there is, I'm sure there are cases that maybe, if we don't know about it, then I can't speak on it.
All right, Dr. Tiller.
Okay. I'd just like to say that before we go into executive session, I'd just like to wish members of the board a happy holiday season.
Thanks for the flowers.
And the flowers.
Thank you.
We hope you all enjoy.
And I also wanted to wish our teachers and everybody here a happy holiday. I'm sure we all want to do that, and tell you how much we appreciate what all these scores are showing. We're real happy with that. Yes.
And I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, me too. And I'd like to say,
Before we leave the issue of administrative leave, just personally, I would like to encourage principals to find some kind of method of redirecting behavior short of sending people home and jumping to administrative leave before you have a discussion with someone. I think it gets to be a bit punitive and high-handed, and I really, really hope that they can find a way to work with each other better than jumping to administrative leave. All right. Now, the executive session, do we have elections and resignations? Okay. So, and then and one petition. All right.
So we need to modify our motion to eliminate the use of administrative leave and just include the other two that are listed. Okay. So amended. I made that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And we are in executive session. Thank you very much.
Are we done?
I need a motion to go back into open session.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. We're back in open session. No decision was made, no action was taken. And Dr. Cobb, would you please do the recommendations?
Madam Chair, the administration recommends the approval of 2 elections and 1 resignation.
Madam Chairman, I move we approve 2 elections and 1 resignation as administration is.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion is carried unanimously.
Administration recommends the approval of 1 high school petition, please.
Madam Chairman, so moved.
Okay, you will,
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, huh?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand.
I just wanted to say that we'll come before you one more time in January because they have until December 31st to get them in. So January will be the last of the high school petition.
We'd like to know the number this year that have received petitions, if you can get
Lynn
that.
should have it.
Okay,
Because in
great.
her minutes, she should be able to go back through and
Get
see
that.
each time.
Thank you.
All right, and so now, Mr. Coach,
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
is there a second?
Picture, second.
Okay.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Are y'all going to adjourn or not over there?
Yeah, adjourn.
Okay.
We had a
When do I know?